Great morning, great morning, great morning. It is Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on WDRB Media, the voice of the community. And we're here for the It's About You radio show. I'm your host, Maurice McDonald. Each and every Tuesday morning at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, I have the pleasure, the honor, and really the privilege to share some amazing information, wonderful guests designed to motivate, educate, and to inspire you to be the best you can possibly be. And each and every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m., I know someone is getting dressed, someone is at work, someone is in the gym working out, whatever you're doing, having breakfast. Thank you for the ride. Thank you for your ears, designed to get into your ears and hopefully into your heart. And each and every Tuesday morning, I start out with a motivational quote, a quote of the day. And the quote today basically says, if you want to be the best, you got to work harder than the rest. If you want to be the best, you must work harder than the rest. Now, that working harder doesn't necessarily mean physically. Sometimes it means working smarter than the rest. And sometimes using leverage if necessary. But one thing about it, you got to be able to put forth the effort above average, not be the average individual. I hear this all the time, the average American, the average American. I wasn't created for average. I don't think you were either. Not created for average. That means I got to work hard. I got to grind. And if you're having a business or you're starting a business or whatever it is, you got to grind more than just your job, okay? So sometimes you got to work smarter, work harder than the rest of the individuals. And that is your morning motivation quote this morning, brought to you by MauriceMcDonald.net, MauriceMcDonald.net. Go there and learn all about your amazing microbiome, the amazing P84 designed to help your gut be better. Listen, this is October, and obviously October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. I decided that because I know, number one, that is a major issue in all communities, and there are a lot of women who have gone through and survivors and thriving, and we've lost some people because of breast cancer awareness. And this is one of the things, I know the NFL and a lot of major corporations, you'll see the pink ribbon and all those types of things happening. And I just decided as a man that it's time to speak up about this. This is more than just a woman's issue because it affects all people. It affects family members. There's some men who lost wives. There's some men who've lost mothers and sisters and aunts and all kinds of issues. So this is not just a woman's issue. And so just some of the stats that I realized that in 2022, there were about 279,731 new cases of breast cancer in females in the U.S. that were reported. And in 2023, 42,213 women lost the battle to breast cancer, and even more. And says that lifetime risk of women in the U.S. being diagnosed with invasive breast cancer is about 1 out of 8 or 13%. So listen, these numbers, and the numbers are going to change and go up and down all the time. But I decided as a man, it's time to put this out here. But I not only wanted to talk about this myself, but I want to talk to somebody who's number one, who's a thriver, someone who has been down this path and more qualified to speak about this than I am, for sure. And you all heard her before on my show, and I guess she may be a regular guest here because we're talking about none other than Miss Charlisa Herriott. Obviously, they call her Coach, and she's the crushingchemochick.com. I love that name. I love saying that. Miss Herriott, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I am fantastic. And it's an honor again to have you here to share this because you know more about this firsthand than I ever would know. And first of all, just to be able to speak to you and hear your story. So if you would, in case somebody's hearing you for the very first time, tell them a little bit about who you are and why you got the name that Crushing Chemo Chick.
Yes. First of all, I want to thank you again for allowing me to, grace your platform here. I'm ever so thankful and grateful for this opportunity to be able to share and help others to get to a healed space. Mm-hmm. With that being said, as you stated, Charlisa Herriott, affectionately known as Coach C, the Crushing Chemo Chick, and I am a cancer survivorship coach, a cancer care minister, cancer care advocate. I reign as Miss Cancer Warrior 2018, and I am also an author of a children's book, and it's entitled Healing Hugs, a mother-daughter story of love and resilience, that I'm grateful because it relates to what we're speaking about the topic today about breast cancer awareness. As far as my journey, I am a 3-time thriver of a rare form of cancer, originally diagnosed back in the June of 2007. I had surgery in December of 2007, which was a pneumectomy, and that was the removal of my entire right lung. And it affected my sinus, so that's where the cancer was. So it spread to my right lung, and so they had to remove that. Then it was followed up by 3 months of radiation, and so that's how I began the new year of 2008. The first 3 months going daily radiation, and after that was fine. Became healed. They didn't see anything. Cancer was gone, and it had a reoccurrence in December of 2018. During that time, beginning the new year again, 2019, with chemotherapy, and I did it for a year and a half. And so after going through the chemotherapy, they had to stop because it was affecting my heart. And so they started with radiation, was another option at that time. So I went through radiation again, and the radiation there was probably 33 rounds of it. So it was like for 1 month time period and a couple of days. And then after that, cancer gone until it was June of 2022, and it reoccurred for the 3rd time. And with that, the option of chemotherapy and radiation, any of those targeted therapy was off the table for various reasons. And so the only thing that I said that I still had was the prayer, knowing that God will work a miracle. And so I prayed for 9 months. And then on March the 16th of 2023 is when the Lord had me. I was scheduled for chemotherapy. They were going to try it again, although I was taking a risk. And the oncologist decided to say, okay, let's try another scan. He said, I just wanted to make sure. And so we did another scan that morning, and from that scan received the results immediately, and it was NED, what we say in the cancer community, meaning no evidence of disease notated, observed anywhere within my body.
That is
without
awesome.
Physical treatment. So, the miracle of the Lord.
Yeah, absolutely. And guess what? And he is in a miracle working business. Hello. And so anybody that listens to this, this is why I really want to have you back and share this, because people are struggling because they're not there yet, perhaps, or they got all kind of ups and downs. But let me ask you, since it's October Breast Cancer Awareness Month, can you share with my listeners why this month is so important, so to speak? Every month is important to people who are battling this, but why you think this is so important now?
I believe that this is so important because, as you stated with statistics, there's 1 in 8 women that may be diagnosed or come in to be affected by cancer, to be diagnosed with it in some form of their lifetime. And with that, we look at it specifically among African American women. There's an alarming number, a higher rate of those who have been impacted by cancer. And then when we look at the the survival rate, that gives another set of numbers. I don't focus so much on that because I'm one that advocates for life. And if God says that we are healed, then that's what I stand firm on.
Yes.
So I don't pay attention much to the survival rate. That's just not something that I do. But with it being so prevalent, and even among men, now we're seeing that the numbers are showing up where men are being diagnosed with breast cancer as well, that I think that this is a time period where just about anywhere you go, you can be standing in line in a grocery store, having a conversation with a complete stranger, and you can ask the $1 million question, have you ever been impacted by cancer, rather with you or someone you love or someone you work with? And I'm quite sure they will say yes.
Yes.
The majority of them. Because it's somewhere, in some form of contact within our different arenas as we navigate and move through the earth, we've been impacted by it.
Yes.
And I think it's so prevalent that we're not just to wear pink in recognition of breast cancer awareness, but to be seriously in tune to the symptoms of breast cancer, ensuring that we are spreading the word for families to make sure, like, we know what the signs and symptoms are. How do we address it? How do we prevent it? How can we take preventive measures and not become a part of statistics that's been diagnosed? How does this impact us? Because think about it. If I was working where I was working with the government, and by me being out for treatment for cancer, that left my position open. But not only was my immediate family and my friends who were impacted, but my colleagues, my coworkers, because my presence wasn't there.
Right.
So the concern was, the concern is that, when we have that, that's why I said that breast cancer actually affects everyone. And so it's not just a matter of, just listening to the numbers and say, I'm going to wear pink this month and that'll be it when it comes November. Then, it's out of sight, out of mind. But what are we doing throughout the year? Right. Are we putting our dollars in to not just only look on a national level, but locally? Because we have a lot of individuals who have been impacted by breast cancer and other forms of cancer who start their own nonprofit organizations and foundations and providing services for other sisters and brothers who are locally. Yes. So are we putting our dollars into these organizations?
Yes.
They are the ones who are at the bottom trying to make their way up. I think that that's another way why it's so important for this month to bring the awareness, but even beyond October, how can we still make an impact?
That is so true. And I think I was going to ask you a question about the myths, and I think you discovered one, the common myths or misconceptions about breast cancer, that only women can get it, and the idea that, it does affect men. It does affect, I guess, truly the boots on the ground, literally, when you got individuals out here who are thriving, they're starting their nonprofit, they need funding, all types of things. So, and everybody's looking to donate places, to good causes. And this is truly one of them, and, so with that said, how important is early detection, and what other recommended screenings for different age groups, if you know of any?
Where it comes to us with breast cancer, some more details, I would say that every woman needs to ensure that they get a mammogram. And a lot of times, and know your genetics, your family dynamics and genetics. So if you know that it's ran in your family, your grandmother, your mother, or some auntie or someone who has been diagnosed with cancer, make those notations. Write that down, and then when you see your physicians, then you make sure you let them know, because those questions will come up, and they will be asked when you start indicating or noticing some symptoms, and you relay that to your doctor, and then they're going to find out, ask more detailed questions. Has anyone in your family been diagnosed with cancer? And then what was the relationship of that individual? And then they'll ask, is that individual still alive or are they deceased? Because all of those will be determining factors to see. That's great, information that helps in the research portion of it. So then they can take that information and then utilize it to come up where we can just find the ultimate cure,
Yes.
so to speak. But I think that would keep up with our mammograms, and then we do our personal monthly checks. Okay, a lot of women we go in, we shop for these fancy bras, but are we putting these fancy bras on breasts that may be have damage on the inside? Something is taking place, something stirring up, and we not be aware of it. So I think that we need to become in tune to our bodies and then what goes on. So those monthly breast examinations are very, very, very effective. And it's a great preventive measure as well. And then we don't sit back and just, push it off. Oh, your breast, you're having breast pain. Okay. Oh, it's nothing. Or if you're having drainage from your nipples, or, well, it's all right. Or your nipples getting ready to turn, or discoloration, it's all of those are indicators that something is changing, and we just need to know what those changes are. Okay, and so I think that where we don't walk in fear, but we walk in faith, then I think that that would definitely help during that time period. So I would say just for the women to really go with the mammograms and then their monthly examinations, and then know their history.
And it also doesn't necessarily mean older women. That means younger women too need to be alert to this, because I'm noticing that I've had a colleague here at the college who lost her daughter, who was like 39 years old. They both went in. Mom went in for an exam, and then the daughter went in for an exam. But the daughter, lost her life. She was under 40 years of age. So would you recommend definitely for younger women to don't just think this is some woman who gets older, 50 or 60 years old?
Oh, absolutely. Definitely women younger of the age of 40, yes, for them to get checked. And as I said, they definitely know what your family history is genetically. And sometimes you can go get genetic testing done to see if you carry, the dominant gene that may be predominant, where it can actually manifest later. So I think that there's a lot of money that's been placed into research. There's a lot of preventive measures that we can actually engage in. You even have some of these nonprofit organizations and foundations that even have programs for teenage girls, teaching them how to do the proper monthly breast examinations. So that's letting them be in tune, like, okay, I have these breasts, because that's in the developmental stages that they're going through, right? So we need to understand, not just on how to put on a proper bra or get the right bra size, but what is actually the changes that is taking place on the inside of their breasts.
Right.
So I think that those programs that are out there, that's why I said the money needs to really be channeled and funneled through these nonprofit organizations locally, because this is the work that they're doing in the communities. They're educating these young girls of how to protect their breasts. They're going on college campuses and informing the young women, college women, about getting their examinations done. So they're going to sororities and speaking on, that they're going into the school systems. They're going in even to, corporate America, where you have some nonprofit organizations that are working with corporate America. So I can't stress enough, for us to really put the money where, like almost like they said, put your money where your mouth is.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But really push the money into the community, local communities.
Right.
Because that's where we see the touch. We can see our money's doing something. I'm not knocking sending it to American Cancer Society because they do a whole lot as well. But these grassroots, they need it.
Right.
Because they're helping people like you, me, our mothers,
right.
our sisters, because we never know. They may be one of them.
That's exactly right. And I think it's so important that beyond the medical treatment, what kind of emotional and social support it could be like most helpful for patients and their families.
Yes, that part I definitely wanted to stress that during this conversation is that when we're going through as a survivor, fighter, even survivors, they're still going through a journey. The cancer may be gone and that's over, and they're over here thriving, but we're still dealing with the side effects from it. That's the aftermath. It's like the aftermath after the storm. The storm has already happened, but now we need to deal with the destruction that the storm brought. It has left. So it's the same here. The treatment has already happened and it's over. So now we have to deal with the aftermath that stems from the treatment.
Mm-hmm.
For that, with the emotional piece of it, for someone who's initially diagnosed and then they hear of the word cancer and that they've been diagnosed with that, they may, depending on where their faith is, and then it depends on if they've been exposed to others who have gone through the journey and they've seen success rates with them.
Right.
Mentally, that can play a toll on you. Some people hear it and thinking it's a death sentence and that life is over. Oh my God, that's it,
Yeah.
And that's not it. If you think in those terms, then, you begin to move in that direction. But if you think in terms of, okay, this has been, I hear this is what do I need to do? It's like, okay, I'm ready to put on my boxing gloves. Let's fight. I'm ready to fight this thing. And knowing that you're not fighting alone, that you're fighting, with a team. You're fighting with your family. You're fighting with your colleagues. You're fighting with your friends. You're fighting with your community. You're fighting with your state legislators, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Even with them, So we're looking at that to ensure that the mental capacity has to be stretched.
Right.
I think that we have to look at our perspective and their viewpoint on life, because I know for me, the first time going through the journey, it was a physical fight. Not so much mental, because I had the support system with my sister, who was right there, who came and lived with me during that time. And she was my caregiver daily. So mentally and emotionally, I had that support. So I didn't really, have those moments. I did have moments of it being like, oh my goodness, but with my sister there, she kept me going. Like, we're not thinking, we're going to cry just a little bit, 5 minutes. That's what she used to say. I give you 5 minutes, that's it. After 5 minutes, you're going to put on your boots now. Come on, we're going to fight. And I did. The second and the third time, it was mental and an emotional battle. Not so much of a physical battle, but emotional and a mental battle. So there I didn't have the support system like I had at the beginning for the first journey. Particularly for the third, I did. And it was like I was there alone, Mm-hmm. My family was in a different state, location. And my sister didn't have the ability with her job, to come like she had from the first time. So I walked it, but I didn't walk alone. I walked it through my faith in the Lord, mm-hmm. and that's what brought me through. So I think that the emotional distress that, the cancer journey can bring to a person, it can be like a roller coaster ride. There are moments you may have the shock and the fear, like for initially hearing the news and being afraid of dying, to anxiety, that may come upon a person where they're worried about, the treatment, is it working, or if treatment is delayed because their numbers may not be at the stable place, safety net for them to receive treatment, then they're, just in a whirlwind there mentally. They may be, worried about their finances, because if they're not, once they started treatment, then you're away from your job, and there goes, another form of income. So if you're a single mother, and you're the breadwinner, and then you're diagnosed with cancer and you're out, then where's the income coming in?
Yes, yes.
A lot of times people lose their insurance. They lose their job, they lose the insurance.
Mm-hmm.
There was a concern for me. The first time I went through, I was so fortunate, so blessed, that I shared it with my supervisor that I was going through treatment, and I was going to have surgery. And right before surgery, a week before, I let her know. And I just started the job literally that October. I was hired, and then was going out in December. So I was going out without pay.
Yes.
Because I didn't have any leave yet to build up. And would you believe that she shared it with the other therapists and with the unit for them, and they all chipped in and donated their leave to me in order for me to be out for 3 whole months.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. And let's pause right there. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Did you know all disease begins in the gut? That's right. Your gut is your second brain, guys. It's connected to your liver. It's connected to your hormones. All things start in the gut. That's why you need to get your gut right today with P84. Loved by him. Awesome product called P84. 84 fruits and vegetables organically grown all around the world to help detox every organ in your body, provide all the nutrients, everything you need in your system to get your gut right. Simply go to MauriceMcDonald.net. MauriceMcDonald.net. MauriceMcDonald.net, and learn about P84 to get your gut right so that you can have an awesome body. Okay, we're back. We're back here, guys, on the WDRB Media, the voice of the community, the It's About You radio show. We're here today celebrating and talking about Breast Cancer Awareness Month and what this impacts. And of course, I got my amazing guest host here, Miss Herriott, and she's been sharing her story. We left off with her talking about co-workers giving her leave, because she's amazing. Imagine you're a single mom, or you're working, you have a job, you got benefits, and you got insurance and all those kind of things, but you find that you're going to be out indefinite, 3 months out. What happens to your time? So if you would, go ahead and tell us what your colleagues did with you at work.
Yes, with me, my colleagues had donated their leave to me, their personal leave. This is not their sick leave. They could have donated their personal leave. So this is their personal leave time. Time that's like money that they cannot get back for that. But and that covered me for those 3 months. So that there's a need when you're going through the journey that other people can really rally. You may have, like I said, co-workers that may come and donate in that sense. There was times where the person may, I was in need of having someone to drive me to treatment, and that's where my church came in, and they actually did a schedule. I didn't have to worry about it. I just let them know that, I was going through, and I had to drive myself every day, and for radiation, and right after immediately after radiation, you're exhausted. And so it's kind of hard. It was a challenge for me, rather, to actually drive back home. And they put a schedule together. They stated who was going to be available according to their schedule to take me, and they would come pick me up and bring me home, which is a great, source of resources of support that came through. So you have, and these are just different things that communities can do, or people who are out there, the listeners can do, if they're wanting to find out how can I, become a part of this, not just only for October, but from, on forward. And so there's a means, support groups. Churches can start support groups. You have some, even those who have battled through, start support groups themselves. They do meetups, and it eventually turns into a support group. So there's another means of it. You have businesses that offer specialized services. You have like the YMCA, or is it? Yes, the YMCA. The YMCA, where the listeners can check. I know here in the city of Charlotte, they have a program where cancer survivors and thrivers can actually attend and receive services there at the Y. So it's helping them emotionally and physically, and getting that mobility going, after treatment, and getting their exercise in, and working the heart, and getting them into a more better physical state. So there's another means for people to really check out through that. You have like your, what do you call it, like your treatment, not treatment, but the exercise places, the gyms. They are actually training facilities. You can, collaborate with them. I partnered with one in my former city and did a Survivors Day on a Saturday. So it was open. The gym was open. They were the ones who facilitated the exercises, and then those in the community would come, and they came either at a free moment or a reduced rate, very reduced, that was affordable for them. So those are different options and means that communities can come together, people within the communities can come together to really fight, this thing, and allow that emotional distress be reduced.
Right. I'm listening here, and I'm thinking about that keeps popping in my mind, our sororities and fraternities, which is nationwide, and a lot of organizations, a lot of, events, sponsors. What are your thoughts about the Kappas and the Qs and the Deltas and AKAs and everybody else? Even I know some of them probably already do it, but what are your thoughts about encouraging them to be very active in this area in terms of raising funds as well?
Yes, we do have. I definitely encourage. I am a part of that D9. I am a Zeta, part of the Zeta Phi Beta sorority incorporated, and we have to really get out. We have active programs that are part of the sorority that are actually funding dollars, towards breast cancer awareness, even with domestic violence as well. But that's just another issue. But just to state that their money is being channeled through that. I've been to some programs that were offered through the other D9 organizations that are actually raising funds for breast cancer awareness. So I think that maybe there's more. Maybe there's certain ones that are not as active in the community under that umbrella of breast cancer awareness or cancer period. I think that maybe more and more will be able to get in if we're going to them and talking to them. I think their doors will be open to receive those who were part of those organizations and come into their to speak to their people in reference to breast cancer and its impact within our communities, especially when it comes to African American women
Mm-hmm.
So I think that, yes, that's another means, and there's more work to do.
Yes, and my thoughts also along these lines of hitting even on that local level. I think about in there growing up in the African American community that the barbershop and the beauty salons have always been points of contact where people talk, even fundraising there, helping, because people are always looking to, to help or have a cause. But I believe that when it hits somebody personally, I know as a law enforcement officer, former officer, I used to think about when someone, there was crime happening in a neighborhood, and we would go canvass the neighborhood and to see who's seen anything, and people, I don't want to get involved, I don't know nothing. But when their house got broken into, suddenly it was personal now. And now they wanted everybody to get involved with it. I think even going beyond knowing somebody who's been through it, but having a coworker who's been through it, like you said, it affects you. So even if on the local level or any type of fundraising, because it takes money to help and support people, along with all the emotional piece. So if somebody, I want my listeners to think about this, if somebody has a barbershop, somebody's got a food truck, somebody's got whatever it is, and don't just let it be in October, as you said earlier, to be able to do fundraising, especially somebody who's got a 503c or whatever else that they're going to be doing, to make sure the money goes to the right places, because we have to be careful of fraud too, of people. Have you ever come across cases where there may have been some fraud or some, skeptical fundraising going on?
I have, and it was a person that stated that she was going through treatment for breast cancer, and she actually had, I think at the time it was like a GoFundMe type thing that she had, but then people were starting, fundraising for her as well, and come to find out that it wasn't true. So, and that kind of makes it more skeptical for others who really want to give and genuinely give from the kindness and the goodness of their hearts, but then they're a little leery holding back on their funds because they're not so sure if those, that organization, is valid and legit. So
yes.
Yeah, that kind of hurts.
Yeah, those kind of things hurt us, and when people do things that are illegal or just trying to hurt individuals, and it creates a lot of issues. But I understand that you're having an event that you're putting up here in Charlotte. Tell my listeners about your event.
Yes, speaking of trying to get the community more involved during this month, for me going through the journey, I'm one that always been one to give back. I'm grateful for the position that I'm in, and I know there's many out there are waiting, for their moment to be in their healed space as well. So on October the 26th, at the Heritage House in Morrisville, North Carolina, I am hosting, along with Skinfinity, and her name is Marissa Allegretto. It's called Skinfinity and Beyond, and we're hosting a spa day, and this is going to be for cancer champions, as I call them. And this is for those who are in the fight, those who have been recently diagnosed, those who are already in thrivership, but even for them along with their caregivers. And it's going to be a day of where they can get facials done, they can have massages. We'll have a booth where they'll be able to set up to go and do a little shopping for a wig, and then get it styled right on site to fit, their facial features. We'll have some food here to nourish their physical bodies. We'll have someone to speak and give them that emotional nourishment as well as the spiritual nourishment. So it's open, it's free, and it's called Radiate and Rejuvenate, a day of healing, hope, and her.
Okay, and how can they get more information especially those who in this North Carolina area?
Yes, there is. It's on Eventbrite, but it's if you go on to Crushing Chemo Chick to my page on either Facebook or Instagram, and then you'll be able to see the link. It will be on both.
Yes.
For radiation rejuvenate.
Right. And I think that is awesome because, we always talk about self-care and how valuable self-care is. Even if you're not going through anything, but I talk to my listeners about individuals who who may be struggling and going through all the symptoms and everything else. How important would that self-care be?
Oh, that self-care is very important. It's number one because, as I state, that when we look at the numbers of those who really survive or they're in their thrivership, the key is that emotional stability. We have to have that mental agility. We have to strengthen that mental agility to be able to fight. So I think when it comes to self-care, it's just not just, go and get your feet done or your nails done or just getting your hair done. But it incorporates internally, even mentally, what is the thing that brings you peace? What is that thing that you feel comfortable doing, that you enjoy doing, that it puts a smile upon your face? As for me, it's a body of water. Whether it's a waterfall, it's a pond, it's a lake. I just need to get near water. When I relocated here to Charlotte, I relocated near to the close to the lake because I knew it was important for me for that self-care. So really for those who are survivors and going through, and even the caregivers as well, because they go through this journey too, and we don't want to forget them, that when it comes to the self-care, that really you need that time where you can just, set aside, go, just kind of isolate yourself just for a moment to have that me time, where it's just you and God, if you're a person who believes, and just have that conversation with him, Mm-hmm. It's that time for you to do journaling, to jot down your feelings and emotions, because you'll be able to handle it a whole lot better, by releasing it through your writing or releasing it through your conversations of sharing and expressing your feelings and emotions than keeping it all bottled up on the inside, because that's where it can become destructive internally.
Yes. I want to touch on a moment.
I would suggest.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to touch on a moment with something you said about the caregivers, because I know my mother passed away from complications from Alzheimer's, and I knew that I was the caregiver. I teach class, and teaching kept my sanity, so to speak, for me. Yeah. Going to check on her to make sure she was cared for and those types of things. And I knew afterwards, but having to go through the hospice and all those kinds of things. And they asked me if I wanted counseling. And of course, the greatest thing I said was yes, absolutely. Because sometimes men, we tend to think, oh, I got this. I'm gonna man up. I'm gonna be strong. But talk to my listeners a little bit about the caregivers, the care that they need for themselves. If you can enlighten them a little bit.
Yes, the caregivers, as I say, they're going through the battle too. It's just at a different experience than from you and from a different viewpoint. And it's a lot for them to try to juggle everyday living for them as well as everyday living for that patient or that loved one, mm-hmm. That they're caring for. And so things are compounded, and that just added stressors. Sometimes they, actually, just not take care of the things that they need to take care of for themselves, and, just because they have you as a priority or that loved one as a priority. And then they let everything about them and their health kind of go to the wayside. So I think it's so important for caregivers to have that support system as well, because they're being that support system for that loved one, but then who do they need to fall back on? They need a soft space to land. And so as caregivers who are out there and they're listening, I would suggest that they definitely look for support groups for them, because they are out there. More like you'll find them at your particular community's cancer centers, even within the local nonprofit organizations. They actually have some support group systems that are there too. So I think that they need to isolate themselves to have their time where they're away, so they can regroup, refocus, and reflect where things are and where they're looking to head. So I think that's definitely key, making sure they do things that are peaceful for them, that brings calmness among them, and that reduces their level of stress.
Yeah, because I remember you also were talking about before, when you had to get away from certain family members when you were going through, who may be crying all the time, or they themselves were not on board with you and your journey.
Absolutely.
And separate yourself for a moment. So if the caregiver cannot be 100%, especially if the person is standing on their faith, they need to ride with them, stand on that faith, and not say, well, to be contradictory to their faith, that could hinder that person. Because if they're standing on principle, they're standing on God's word, and you coming in with some doubt and some unbelief, maybe you need to separate yourself for a moment till you can get there.
Right, exactly. And that's a good point to make, because as I always tell my clients, we need to check your circle of love. And your circle of love is your support system, is what I entitled it. Mm-hmm. So if someone that's within that circle of love is not, on board for what you're believing, and then that person will need to reevaluate. Maybe this is not the time for them to be a part of that circle. They just need to be on the outside for right now. Like you said, where they can isolate themselves and get back on board with it. Because that's something you don't need. That's just like a, cancer that can metastasize to the next one. So we need to remove that cell completely. So even when it comes with the caregivers, look at the where you are mentally. Sometimes out of frustration, we may, project that upon our loved ones, and then it causes fusion, in between the two people. Even when it comes with spouses, a lot of times you have marriages that were fine prior to cancer, and after the journey, it's like, okay, this is post-cancer, and now they're getting divorced. So it's like, what happened? You didn't get a divorce during cancer while you were going through. So what was that thing that, separated you? What was the thing that pulled you apart? And a lot of times, because we're not communicating or expressing our feelings and emotions, the spouse may not necessarily see the physical change. Talking about breast cancer, well, maybe she loses her breast. So does that change the dynamics in their relationship? Possibly. Does he, will he change it so that he doesn't find her or view her as beautiful anymore? No breasts, no hair. I mean, so those factors come into play, and a lot of times families are impacted by that. So that's why I feel that the conversation, these courageous conversations, are need to be had in order for families to really be strengthened as they grow through the journey. And I say grow, I emphasize grow through it, because it's not only a growth for that patient, but it's also growth for the family members as caregivers.
Yes. Is there anything else that you would like our listeners to know, a message of hope you would like to leave our audience with, especially those who may be facing diagnosis right now?
I would say that, number one, don't just look at it as being a death sentence. Just know that, that with the Lord, all things are possible, and that He is our healer, and that by His stripes we are healed. So we are walking in our healing. We're just waiting for the scans, the reports, and the doctor's verdict to catch up with the Lord's will for our lives.
Yes, that is so true, so powerful, because this journey, obviously, when you get a diagnosis, and that part and the process and getting a support system immediately, and a strong support system, and it's one thing to say I believe in God, I've got this, but when you got to stand on it, when that's all you have. The one out of all the uncertainties you go through, the one certain thing you have is the Word. It is my faith, and it's always say, like when people say, "Oh, if it were me, I would do this." You don't know what you do till you get faced with it, and realizing that I can make it through this, that journey, that process of keeping the faith and keep being encouraged no matter what, and having that strong support system. It goes back to that family and friends again, and church members, and wherever the source of your resources are. People who are going to stand in the gap with you, like your coworkers did, who gave you their personal time, and that's huge. There was no doubt they cared about you. Their actions said so. Because I could hear anybody say, "I don't know if I can give up my time," but you know what?
Right.
You know how they represent. You know what? I want to thank you so much for giving your time to be on my show today to share this amazing information here. And again, if you would give your website again, where people can reach out to you.
Yes, it's www.crushingchemochick.com, and they can also follow me on social media, all social media platforms, at Crushing Chemo Chick.
Absolutely. We thank you so much for your time being with us again. I know you'll be back again, because I enjoy each and every time that you come in here. We'll take a quick break. Did you know there's a battle going on inside your gut? That's correct. Good and bad bacteria are battling daily for your health. Introducing P84, Love Biome's brand new awesome product to help your gut microbiome to get in order. Imagine 84 fruits and vegetables grown all around the world in good soil for good health. A 5-year-old, 80-year-old, it doesn't matter. We all have a gut, and you need P84 in your gut to help you feel better, sleep better, and also detoxify every organ in your body. Simply go to MauriceMcDonald.net, MauriceMcDonald.net, and you can order your P84 today to help get your gut in order. Remember, P84, go to MauriceMcDonald.net, MauriceMcDonald.net, and get your gut right today. We're back, guys, here on the It's About You radio show, WDRB Media, the voice of the community. And this has been a powerful segment. And once again, I want to thank my guest that did a fantastic job talking about this breast cancer awareness. And I want to say, in the time I have remaining, first and foremost, I'm going to give you some reasons why men need to support women with breast cancer. First and foremost, it's not just a woman's issue. Breast cancer affects families, communities, relationships. Men involvement helps break the stigma and encourages open conversation. Because a lot of times, as long as women are the only ones talking about it, it becomes just a woman's issue. No, it becomes a family issue. Because every man has a woman in his life, a mother, or a sister, a daughter. So therefore, men need to talk about it. Also, number 2, emotional strength matters. A woman facing breast cancer benefits greatly from knowing that men in her life listen and stand by her during all the frightening and uncertain times. That is so important. And research shows that support improves recovery. The emotional and practical support can reduce stress and positively impact treatment outcomes. So it is, like I said, not a woman's issue. That support is so powerful. And the shared responsibility builds resilience. Supporting loved ones through treatment strengthens family bonds and creates a more stable, caring environment. And that is huge for men out here. So if you're a man here, or ladies, if you have a man who's not on here listening, share this with him. It is very important. And a lot of men, we don't deal with difficult times, or stressful times, or these kind of things. We sometimes shut down. We go into our box, so to speak. And we learned that it's important that we must advocate. Advocacy can save lives. When men speak up about breast cancer awareness, it helps spread the important information about early detection and treatment. That is so important that we do this, because oftentimes, as I said before, when you view it as just a woman's issue, men tend to dismiss it. Oh, they'll see the pink ribbon and they'll think, oh, okay, well, whatever, I'll donate a couple of dollars. But it's important that we have to really be advocates for women going through this, because anybody who's had a sister or mom or a wife or daughter go through this, ladies and gentlemen, I've talked to several individuals, and that journey is so uncertain. And it's important that we become informed partners to become better caregivers. Get informed about it. Understanding the journey of breast cancer enables men to offer the right kind of support at the right time. And, everybody wants to talk about how strong a man is. They think about muscles. They think about leadership. They think about him being a good provider. And that's all great. And those are great roles. But understanding that role of being that caregiver. My mother did not have breast cancer. She passed away from complications from Alzheimer's. But I know that part of being in the trenches, of having to give my mom a bath at times. Hello. It tested all the real manhood. Things you have to do to be able to help set mom up for a shower, and the things that she could do, and because she couldn't take care of herself. But breast cancer would be the very same way, being that supporting whatever she needs at the moment and providing that. And also love and the presence bring hope. That presence of being there and brings hope. Simply showing up, offering comfort, reminding women that they're not alone, and it can make a powerful difference in the fight against cancer. Because you can imagine when you think you're fighting all alone. No, you're not alone. That is so important. And that shared responsibility, the advocacy, and men providing the assistance, for transportation, daily responsibility, ensuring that loved ones feel that she's not feeling overwhelmed, because that is a major disease, and emotional and everything else that goes into this. So I want to encourage men. I want to encourage the men to step up. And there's a term called man up. Yeah, it is time for us to man up for sure, and to be present, and don't let it become just a woman's issue. Men have to speak up and show up, be there emotionally for that support. Support in all of those areas is very, very vital. And to become an informed partner, the good caregiver to help. Because it may mean sometimes, there's a song that talks about 50-50. It's an old song, Teddy Pendergrass song long ago, talking about 50-50 love. No. There's no such thing as a 50-50. Sometimes it's 99-1 in any relationship. But when someone's going through breast cancer and all the things, the emotional trauma they're going through, it means that I got to stand up, show up, and be present, be accountable. Hey, listen, I wanted to do this show today as a man to encourage other men to do the very same thing. So Hey, this has been a great opportunity to share today. I really appreciate you listening, guys. Go to MauriceMcDonald.net, learn all about your amazing gut microbiome. Get that P84 in your system. And we'll see you all next week on the It's About You radio show here on WDRB Media, the voice of the community. We'll be back because we're going to be in the building.